Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
What makes Tia so great? Because I remember years ago, I wasn't even really following the sport that much. I was doing CrossFit, but didn't know a lot about how the games worked and everything. And I just remember seeing Tia on TV, and she seemed a little smaller than some of the other ladies that were out there.
Physically, you mean?
Yeah, like just physically,
Okay.
like she was not as tall and some of those things. And she was just crushing it. And I just remember, like, this was years ago, and I remember seeing like that kind of like that look in her eye, and just thinking like, I just remember kind of like being like, oh, kind of rooting for her, like, you go, girl. Like she just seemed like she had something, and then she just was winning. Like what? Does she just have this?
It's her mindset for sure.
Is it? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Tia is
She's
an animal.
tense. Yeah.
Like neither of us knew her before. I mean,
Watching her, we just met her. She's like
that was
cool,
the first time you met her, right?
Yeah,
Like an interview?
cool, funny, like hilarious human being, and like super nice and sweet. Then you watch her train, and it's like, you know, you have that switch that like turns on.
It's a little
And it's
scary.
just
The
just
first
locked
time
in.
I was
it's
ever
intense,
in the
yeah.
gym with her, they got back from South Korea, and I dropped over at East Nashville just with Tia and Shane, and it was just working out with me too. I wasn't coaching, so Shane and I were working out with Tia, and Tia, I look over, and she's doing back squat sets at like what I would use. Like I'm a 220-pound man.
Yeah,
like,
it's intimidating. Yeah,
How heavy is Tia?
she's 145.
I don't even
maybe?
know. Yeah,
like,
if that.
Like,
She's, to your point, she is small.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hopefully she doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but like she's a small athlete. For the field, she's
Yeah,
small.
she is.
but she's the strongest.
Yeah, and it's
Dang.
because like you watch her train, and she goes to a dark place.
Oh, yeah?
like when she trains, and
Yeah,
and that's what's like. I'll even say, and you would probably say the same thing with Brooke. Like Brooke's realizing she's not here just because she just has some gifts and like she's gotten lucky. There's a reason she has the success she is, because every single day when she walks through the door, that flip switches.
Yep.
And there's no more like, we're not messing around. Like I'm training for July now.
Yes.
Like, even if it's September, everything I do today adds up for the bigger picture of my success.
Yes.
And that's what's raising the level of everyone's performance on
I'm
the
a professional, and I'm here to do
Yeah.
a job.
And I will say, like, that's the thing coming around, like Tia, that, you know, was really cool to see, and what separates, because it's not like you said, like these athletes aren't necessarily doing completely different programs to the point, like, you know, with like Rich back in the day, but like with Tia, you watch her and it's everything is everything, and each fine point matters, and she
Yes.
cares about every aspect of training and tailoring it to like be perfect. And that's what you see with champions, is they do everything
and
well.
it all comes down to trust, like we talked about with Shane. And Shane's built this from the very ground up with them. Like it's really cool to hear their story, to where they just met like at a gym. Like there was no previous professional experience. Shane just kind of figured it out, became who he is, self-made. And there's a really cool story she told us last week about before she was going to the Olympics, when she was a weightlifter. Shane like changed something in her technique like right before in a train block, and she like obviously trusted him because they've been through so much together. But then like 2 weeks out or something, like I don't even know what it was, like right before she was supposed to compete, she's just missing lifts. Like the new technique wasn't really working, things weren't happening. She was getting pretty frustrated, but like she trusted him, and it got her to where she was.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when she showed up on competition day, it switched and she was good to go. And like,
That's a trust in him too, for her to figure it out.
and
as
that's
well.
the
Yeah, true. Yeah,
exactly.
both ways.
Yeah, and that's why I think she was saying like he was freaking out. Like he's like, this may not have been a good idea, and now we got to go to the Olympics on the biggest stage in the world.
It's watching Shane work that way too, because like you'll see him do things, and you'll see him kind of like have that like little, but he still trusts in himself that he saw the right thing.
Yes.
And that's what we're creating here for all of the athletes, to where they're buying in. And even in the last 2 months, like the changes we've seen for athletes that have been doing this for 10 years are astronomical. And it's, you don't see that at this point in people's careers.
What's also some of the benefits of what you guys are doing, because I can't imagine how good this is for Brooke to train alongside Tia. Like to see her go to that dark place, to see her put in that work, to see her lock down like that. Brooke's already doing that, I'm sure, to some degree, but man, that's got to have some wear-off benefits for the guys.
And the
for
cool
everyone.
thing is, like, you watch Tia, and I mean, she kind of, you know, coaches a little bit in there. She goes, and
I've
talks
seen that in
about
the
mindset.
videos too. You can kind of tell, yeah.
And she cares about each and every one of these people
Seems
that are
like
on
it.
the team, and isn't, you know, that's where the ego thing is. You know, she wants to do well, but she loves Brooke.
And this is
yeah?
another thing on Tia's end.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say she's that naturally skilled at anything. Like she obviously has the ability to be the best in the world, but she's had to work for everything. And that's when you have to come from a place where you have to work and you weren't just given your abilities, you learn way more because you have to find all the avenues to where you can get that 1% here, 1% there in how you move, in how your brain works mentally, and how you can kind of navigate your way through success without just being genetically gifted to do something. So like a lot of athletes I see, they just run on that for years. And like, they're like, okay, I'm a top 15 games athlete, maybe a top 10 one year. That's good. Like, I feel good about that. But then once you want to be that top 5, you got to dial in those tiny little 1%ers.
Yes.
And that's what Tia is teaching people.
Well, it also I feel like just makes you a more humble person if you have to actually work for it as opposed to just having that gene pool given to you. But also then even more important probably is that you can then help people better. Like if you're just great because you're just great genetically, how do you help people be great? Well, but if you had to learn it and go through it yourself, now you can actually have something to help people.
And I think that's where, like to your point, that's where the competitive landscape is going now. Like you can't just be genetically gifted anymore. You have to, people are becoming so good at training, and coaching is just rising to the top now. Like you have to have all the intangible things mentally, physically, recovery wise. Because if you're just genetically gifted, like you see it all the time. There's like NFL players that like try to jump in and like do CrossFit because they think it's easy, like just because they were so gifted in one thing. You don't have a chance.
Yeah.
You have to do everything.
You need those years on your belt too. And
like these athletes, like nutrition, recovery, every second of the day has to be, at some point in the season, has to be dialed in. Like you don't have time to go out on a Friday night. Like you're going to bed because you have to get up in the morning and row for an hour. Yeah. It's hard. It's very hard. People think it's a glamorous thing to do, but it's brutal.
You like some workouts, but the process is
and your
rough.
body just hurts, man. Like this is one of the sports to where you're a professional athlete that's very uncomfortable all year long. Like, I mean, you look at a lot of, like, even the NBA, like, they deal with some injuries, but they have a long off season, and it's usually just a ankle, knee, joint problem.
I don't know if anybody feels 100% healthy ever.
Yeah, that's what I suspected it would be.
If they are, they're not doing well.
And they still get sore like other mere mortals.
Oh yeah, I mean, last week, I mean, it was.
The only difference is they do the open workout and then do 7 workouts after, and that's why,
man,
and that's why they're sore.
Yeah, they're not sore from the open workout; they're sore from all the things that were around.
That's so crazy.